People always ask me how I learned to make better decisions. They expect a secret formula, a book, or a lucky break. But what they never expect is that I learned by thinking backward. Most people try to solve problems by moving forward, by asking, how can I succeed? I ask the opposite question, how can I fail? Because if you can avoid stupidity, you will automatically get closer to success. That's the first mind trick. Inversion, thinking backward. When I was a young man, I watched people make the same mistakes over and over again. They'd repeat behaviors that obviously didn't work, chasing easy money, following the crowd, spending more than they earned. And I realized something. It's not that people don't know what to do. It's that they don't know what not to do. So I flipped the question. Instead of asking, how can I make my life better? I asked, what could completely ruin it? Debt, addiction, ego, laziness. Avoid those four things, and you'll already be ahead of 99% of people. That's the trick. Success is often about removing, not adding. You clear the weeds, and the garden grows naturally. When I first met Warren Buffett, I noticed he used inversion too. He didn't look for companies that could win big. He avoided companies that could easily lose. He avoided complexity, avoided leverage, avoided management that couldn't be trusted. And by eliminating stupidity, he uncovered greatness. If you're trying to get rich, you don't need to know every winning move. You just need to know what destroys people, and not do those things. Inversion simplifies life. Instead of chasing brilliance, aim for less stupidity. If you want to be happy, ask what makes you miserable, and stop doing those things. If you want to be successful, ask what causes failure, and avoid it. If you want to be wise, ask what makes you foolish, and cut that habit out. It's simple. It's boring, and it works. This idea changed the way I lived. Whenever I faced a big decision, I didn't ask, what should I do? I asked, what would I regret later if I did? That question saved me from more mistakes than I can count. Most people overcomplicate life. They think more effort equals better results. But wisdom is often subtraction, removing noise, removing temptation, removing ego. When you stop trying to be clever, you start becoming clear. And clarity is what builds fortunes. I've spent my life studying how the world works. And what I discovered is this. Most people see the world through a single lens. A businessman sees money. A scientist sees data. A lawyer sees rules. But the world isn't one-dimensional. If you want to make good decisions, you need a latticework of mental models, many ways of thinking, drawn from many disciplines. That's the second mind trick. Think in layers. Whenever I look at a problem, I try to see it through multiple lenses: economics, psychology, physics, history, biology. Each model adds another layer of understanding. Let me give you an example. When people invest, they think in terms of numbers, profits, earnings, returns. But investing is also about human behavior, greed, fear, imitation. If you don't understand psychology, you'll fall for every bubble that comes along. When you understand biology, you realize markets behave like ecosystems, with predators, prey, and cycles of growth and collapse. When you understand history, you know that every new thing is usually an old thing wearing a new coat. And when you understand mathematics, you see how compounding quietly builds power over time. It's like having different maps for the same territory. Each map shows something others miss. When you combine them, you start seeing reality more clearly than anyone else. That's what billionaires do differently. They think in networks, not lines. They connect ideas that don't seem connected. They use mental cross-training, the same way athletes use muscle cross-training. And that's how they make decisions that look effortless, but are deeply thought through. I call it worldly wisdom. It's not intelligence. It's perspective, and perspective is what separates the rich thinker from the poor thinker. So my advice to you, don't specialize too early. Read broadly, learn the basics of many fields, borrow the best ideas, and connect them. The more mental models you collect, the smarter you'll become, because you'll stop seeing life as random and start seeing it as logical. The third mind trick is about humility. Knowing what you don't know is far more powerful than pretending you know everything. I call it the circle of competence. Draw a circle round what you truly understand. Stay inside that circle, and you'll do well. Step outside it, and you'll probably regret it. I've watched countless intelligent people lose fortunes by stepping outside their circle. They thought intelligence alone was enough. But intelligence without boundaries is dangerous. When Warren and I invest, we only act when we're standing on solid ground. Businesses we understand, leaders we trust, industries we've studied for years. We never risk what we have for what we don't need. That's a rule that sounds obvious, until you realize how few people actually follow it. People chase complexity because it feels exciting. But excitement is the enemy of good judgment. Boring is better. Boring keeps you rich. So, define your circle. And remember, it's perfectly fine if it's small. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know your area deeply. As knowledge compounds, your circle will expand naturally. That's how you build confidence that isn't ego. It's earned confidence, built on understanding, not luck. If I had to name the most underrated skill in the world, it wouldn't be intelligence or talent. It would be patience. That's the fourth mind trick. Let time do what effort alone never can. When I was young, I saw bright people burn out chasing quick results. They wanted progress they could see first. And when it didn't happen, they quit. That's the tragedy of impatience. It blinds you to the quiet magic of compounding. Compounding doesn't look impressive at first. It's slow, boring, and invisible for years. But then, suddenly, it explodes, and everyone calls it luck. In reality, it's just the reward for staying consistent when others gave up. When I invested early with Warren Buffett, our returns weren't spectacular in the beginning. We made modest gains, learned, waited, and reinvested. People laughed at our boring approach, but boring builds empires, because time multiplies the effects of good decisions and punishes bad ones. Patience is more than just waiting. It's intelligent restraint. It means knowing when not to act. It's the discipline to sit still when the world screams for movement. The hardest thing in the world is to do nothing when everyone else is doing something. Patience also applies to relationships, learning, and success. You can't rush wisdom. You can't shortcut understanding. You can't speed up maturity. Some things require time, and if you cheat that process, you cheat the outcome. Every billionaire I've ever known understands this law. They don't chase every opportunity. They wait for the fat pitch, the one opportunity that's so good you could bet your life on it. Then they swing hard, and when they're done, they wait again. That's the rhythm of wealth creation. Think deeply, act rarely, wait patiently. When you learn to master time, time becomes your partner instead of your enemy. It starts working for you, growing your money, your wisdom, your reputation, even while you sleep. That's the real secret. You don't need to be faster. You need to be more patient. The fifth mind trick is about thinking clearly. Not just about the world, but about yourself. It's about understanding the invisible biases that control your decisions without you even noticing. You see, our brains evolved to survive, not to think rationally. They're wired for safety, shortcuts, and comfort. That's why humans fall for the same traps again and again. Confirmation bias, overconfidence, groupthink, fear of missing out. If you want to become wise, You must learn to outsmart your own mind. I've spent decades studying psychology because understanding human error is the key to avoiding it. I don't just study markets. I study the people in them, including myself. I ask, why did I make that choice? What emotion drove it? What story did I tell myself to justify it? Once you start questioning your own mind, you'll see how irrational most behavior really is. People buy high and sell low because they follow emotion, not logic. They copy others because independent thought feels risky. They cling to bad ideas because ego can't stand to be wrong. I train myself to pause whenever I feel strong emotion, excitement, fear, anger. Those are danger signals. They mean your rational brain just took a backseat. When you feel them, stop. Think. Step back. In business and life, the ability to stay calm while everyone else panics is worth a fortune. Because the world rewards those who can stay rational when others lose control. Most people never see their own bias. They think they're logical, but they're just emotional with good vocabulary. That's why humility is essential, not as a virtue, but as a strategy. If you assume you can be wrong, you'll double-check your reasoning. You'll seek disconfirming evidence, and that's how you stay out of trouble. You can't eliminate bias, but you can build habits that weaken its power. Pause before reacting. Seek opinions that disagree with you. Ask yourself, what would make me wrong? Do these things long enough, and your thinking becomes clear. Clarity is wealth. It saves you from stupidity. And stupidity is far more expensive than ignorance. The sixth mind trick might be the most practical one I ever learned. If you want to predict behavior, yours, mine, anyone's, look at the incentives. Never, ever underestimate the power of incentives. They explain why people do what they do, even when it doesn't make sense from the outside. In business, incentives shape everything. If you pay someone to produce more, they'll produce more, even if it's bad quality. If you reward short-term gains, you'll get short-term thinking. If you design a system that celebrates appearance over substance, you'll get people who look productive, not people who are productive. Show me the incentive, and I'll show you the outcome. That's how I analyze companies, relationships, even politics. You don't need to guess motives. Just follow the trail of incentives. But incentives don't just manipulate others. They manipulate you. Your mind craves rewards, money, praise, comfort, validation. If you don't control those incentives, they'll control your behavior. When I work, I try to structure my incentives around long-term results. That's why I love compounding. It rewards consistency, not impulse. If your system punishes patience and rewards noise, you'll fail no matter how smart you are. So design your life with incentives that pull you toward wisdom. Surround yourself with people who value truth, not flattery. Reward yourself for discipline, not luck. And never trust a system where short-term gain comes at the cost of long-term peace. That one principle will protect you from more mistakes than any. Stock tip or secret strategy. The last mind trick is the foundation of everything I've ever done. Never stop learning. Every day, I try to go to bed a little wiser than I was when I woke up. That's it. That's the whole game. You don't have to make giant leaps. Just small steps, consistently, for decades, learning compounds like money. Each idea connects with the next, creating new insights you couldn't have imagined before. And over time, that compounding knowledge becomes your greatest asset. The tragedy of modern life is that people stop learning once school ends. They think education is a phase, not a lifestyle. But the mind, like a muscle, weakens without exercise. If you don't feed it, it starves. So I read constantly. Books, history, science, psychology, biographies. Not because I need to, but because curiosity is the best investment I've ever made. Lifelong learning isn't just about reading. It's about thinking, reflecting, questioning, observing. It's about humility, admitting that the world is always changing, and you must change with it. The moment you think you know enough, you start dying mentally, and once your mind stops growing, your opportunities stop growing to dots, so keep learning. Keep improving, let curiosity be your engine, and wisdom will follow. I've spent my life practicing these 7 mind tricks. Think backward. Build mental models. Know your circle. Stay patient. Master your psychology. Understand incentives. Never stop learning. None of them are secrets. But most people are too impatient, too distracted, or too proud to use them. If you can master just these 7, your life and your wealth will transform quietly, steadily, and permanently. I'm Charlie Munger, and this is the blueprint billionaires won't tell you. Think clearly, act slowly, learn constantly, and let time make you wise. If you found something valuable in my words, don't forget, subscribe to this channel so we can keep compounding wisdom together.